Before we introduce folks, I'd like to just acknowledge that Cal State East Bay and many of us, including me, are on the ancestral lands of the Chochenyo Ohlone people, and to acknowledge the thousands of years that the Ohlone people tended this land, and to aspire to greater reciprocity and relationship with the Ohlone people in all that we do, including this work for teaching credentials. It's so great to see you all. Many familiar faces, some new faces. We'll have a chance to do a little bit more kind of smaller group introductions later on. But I want to start off by introducing my longtime colleague, partner in crime, Nina Haft, professor of dance, and Eric Engdahl, who is the chair of the teacher education program at Cal State East Bay, and also a theater artist. So I'm going to turn it over to the two of you to give us an introduction to tonight's events, and then I will be the Zoom DJ. Oh, one more thing I'll say. Also here, another professor, Laura Ellis, professor of dance, who will be one of the teachers in the the dance and theater credential program. And you'll get to hear from Laura in a little bit. All right, Nina and Eric, take it away.
Nina, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm going to ask Eric Coopers if you would please share the screen. I made a very simple PowerPoint just to give you all an idea of what we'll be doing during the hour we have together.
Yes,
And
give me one moment.
Yeah, while Eric is doing that, I just want to welcome you all. I think we probably all have in common a passion for arts education and developing children and youth. And if you are excited about uplifting the next generation of artists and leaders in our communities and bringing your creativity to that calling, then you're in the right place. And we're really excited to be one of the first institutions to offer a credential in dance and theater. Many of you, I think, know, but it's worth repeating that California took a long time to get these approved. So we want to make sure you don't have to wait any longer. So Eric, there we go. So this is a photograph from Jessie Cronenberg's class. She teaches at El Cerrito High School, and Jessie's very active in California Dance Educators Association and works closely with us as well as with Eric Engdahl, and was part of the instrumental group of folks to get the credentials through the California legislature. Just thought it would be fun to see some of the kinds of students you may already work with and what it will be like to step into your public school experience. And if we can go to the next slide, please. So here's what we'll do today. We've done the welcome and land acknowledgement, and we're going to do a very brief overview of the credential programs. And then we want to make time to go into breakout rooms according to discipline, theater or dance, so that you can identify what your questions are, what you want to learn about the program at this stage of the game. And then we'll all come back together and have one person from each breakout room report back what the questions are that you all came up with. And between Eric Engdahl and Eric Coopers and myself, and also Kimiko Guthrie and Laura Elaine Ellis, who will be the dance faculty for the dance courses in the credential program, I think we'll have plenty to share. And then we'll wrap up at 8 o'clock. So go ahead and grab.
Oh, that's for later.
So the first thing I want to say, oh wait, actually Eric Engdahl, if you could just say a little bit about starting in the summer, what does the year look like from summer through spring?
Sure. And I realize that although I'm a theater guy, I can also claim dance, since I actually earned a paycheck from the Colorado Ballet. to dance Drosselmeyer and the Nutcracker
Nice.
decades
Okay.
ago. So
We'll be calling you for some dance subbing.
all right, I'm ready. So the credential program, Nina, I found out from the CTC that we may be the first to be offering theater and dance
in the whole state.
credentials in the state. So I'm gonna work that out with the CTC tomorrow. What a credential program looks like. The credential program is a one-year program. It's in a different college. It's in the College of Education and Allied Studies. And it goes 3 semesters, summer, fall, and spring. During the summer, you have a lot of academic classes. You also, then in the fall, you have academic classes in the evening, 2 to 3 evenings a week, and you're doing student teaching during the day. And that model continues in spring. So it's an intense program, but we really believe that getting it done in a year makes it worthwhile. At this point, the dance credential is going to be housed entirely in our online program. That enables us to reach the entire state of California to get a good number of future dance educators. The cost for the program ends up being between, I think it's about $11,000 now. So if you're, the time frame for the credential program is applications will be available in January. If you are currently a CSU East Bay student, you don't need to do a university application, but you do need to do a departmental application. If you're coming from outside East Bay, you need to do both the departmental application and the university application. The requirements to get into the program, there's a couple of exams. One is called the CBEST exam. That's sort of basic literacy and numeracy skills. And the other one is called CSETs. For right now, we don't have to worry about CSETs because we're still operating under the COVID waiver. So you can get into the program right now without worrying about the CSETs, which aren't ready anyway to be done. I think that's about all you need to know for now. I'm sure there's a lot to go on. So I'll give it back to you, Nina.
Okay, great. And for anyone who has not already started teaching, so I know we have some folks here who are alumni and who've already gotten a credential in another discipline. The CBEST test gives you authorization to teach in public schools in California. The CSET tests are what show that you have knowledge of theater that qualifies you to be a theater teacher or dance for that matter. But because of COVID, what's happening this year and likely for the next academic year, which will be true for anyone who starts the credential program with us, you won't have to take the subject matter test or the CSET. And I'm going to put those initials in the chat just so that anyone for whom these acronyms are new, you'll know what they mean. The CSET is the subject matter expertise. So usually you have to pass that before you start a credential program. This coming year will be a little different. You'll need to pass it before you receive your credential, so sometime before the end of the program. And the CBEST is the exam that Eric just mentioned is basic numeracy and literacy. So it means that you can go into a California classroom and have the basic communication skills to teach whatever discipline you are in. So before we go into breakout groups, I just wanted you to meet Eric Engdahl will be teaching the methods courses for theater credential students in this coming year for the new credential in theater. And Kimiko Guthrie and Laura Elaine Ellis will be teaching the methods courses in dance. So I know that for Kimiko students, and welcome to everyone who's in the Dance for Children class joining us, you all know Kimiko, but not everybody here has met her. So I would like to invite Kimmy and then Laura Ellis to just briefly introduce yourself. And if you want to say a sentence or two about your philosophy about teaching dance, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kimmy. Great to see all of you. Yeah, so let's see. I've been teaching this class and teaching here at Cal State East Bay for 20 years now. So along with Eric, Nina, and Laura. And yeah, I'm really excited about this, this program. Teaching kids dance is very dear to my heart. This is one of my very favorite classes, and I'm just really excited to be able to expand that in all directions. You know, sharing kind of the birthright of dance, right? That we're all dancers as soon as before we're walking, we're dancing. So that's kind of my philosophy in a nutshell, that we're all dancers. And so it's kind of discovering how we can nurture the dancer in us and in our students as much as possible.
Thank you, Kimmy. Laura, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Sure, I'm Laura Elaine Ellis, 27 years this fall at Cal State University East Bay, but 41 years total as a dance educator. And since 1979, I've been designing and directing programs for arts camps and schools around dance education. It's been my joy for 41 years, even before that, but professionally for 41 years. And I really believe in promoting a space that is safe and inclusive for creativity, like really encouraging creativity and exploration and cultural competency. And cultural competency is particularly salient in the context of dance history and aesthetics. And similar to Kimmy, one of my main mottos is if you can move, you can dance. And that is really the sort of environment I like to create for young people learning this beautiful art of dance. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Laura. And the last thing I want to say before Eric Coopers puts us into some small groups to brainstorm questions is for those of you who are still in the process of completing your undergraduate studies, a great thing about having a degree in dance from Cal State East Bay is that the credential program has priority to accept students from CSU East Bay. So if you are a dance student or a theater student and you want to get into the credential program, this is a great way to continue that process all the way from undergrad straight into credential if that works well for you. And it doesn't have to be right after. You could be doing other things and then come back, but you get priority as a already enrolled Cal State East Bay student. And we're excited to bring new people to our campus as well.
How about we go group by group and just share, group leaders can share the questions that you had. And then if one of them has already been answered, you could just skip that one. And I'll go ahead and start. We had some great questions. First question was the $11,000 for the program. Does it include paying for the tests that you need to take beforehand? I believe it doesn't, but.
So the $11,000 figure is sort of a rough estimate that includes paying for the tests.
Oh.
You know, and the CSU can always change the tuition structure, but that's about what it costs for the 3 semesters and books and materials and tests.
Great. There's a question about how for the teaching placements, when student teachers, how COVID is going to affect that. And my answer was, and you can let me know if this was correct, that the credential program itself will still be online, even if we're allowed to come back in person regarding COVID. But once we're allowed to come back in person because of the pandemic, then teaching placements can start happening in person again.
Right. Student teaching placements can start happening face to face. Actually, some districts in Alameda and Contra Costa counties and all over the state are already back face to face. So even if the university classes are online, the student teaching will probably be face to face, or more likely, at least for the rest of this year, it's going to be a mix of face to face and hybrid. Hopefully, we'll be back to face by next year.
Great. And then a question about how student teaching placements are arranged. And is that something the school sets up, or are the students responsible for that?
We help you to set up the student teaching placements. One of the things that we've been doing is really trying to work with the California Dance Educators Association, CDEA, to generate a list of their members who would be willing to host student teachers. So we've got a lot of feelers out there to find as many dance placements as we can.
And I'll add that Kimiko, from teaching this class for many years, Dance for Children, has a lot of contexts where people go to observe classes or teach practice classes. And so we have a list to start from as well. Final question from our group was around the size of the cohort, and I believe it's 15 students for dance and 15 for theater in the credential program.
I hope to get 15.
Okay.
If it's 18, if I have 18 great candidates, I'm not going to turn down those 3 extra people.
Yeah. Great. Kimmy, I'm just going by who I see closest. Kimmy, do you want to share your questions that your folks came up with?
Yeah, thanks. Okay. Let's see. So there was a question about academic courses and kind of what academic courses, not necessarily just straight dance or theater, might be required or involved. And also kind of as along with that, a sense of the reading load, like, kind of maybe even how many textbooks or the level of the amount of reading that might be involved.
So there is a fair amount of reading. I'm not sure I can remember all of the classes in the program. One of the things I was telling my group about is that it's a 41 unit program. 10 units of that are your student teaching. So it's about 30 units, 31 units of classwork. 9 units of that is in dance methods. And CSU East Bay is a little bit unusual in the fact that we really do more methods in the credential program than most credential programs do. But the other classes that you're going to take are foundations, which is about classroom management, lesson planning, psychological foundations of teaching, content literacy. The state of California really feels it's important that every teacher in every subject understand how to teach the literacy of that subject. You're going to take a class that focuses on working with special education students, a class that focuses on working with English language learners, a class on professional responsibilities and legal implications, and a class on educational technology. And I think that's all the classes.
Okay, great, thanks. Another question was about volunteer hours or student teaching hours, and will any be required before being admitted into the program, or will that all happen afterwards?
No, there's a requirement that you spend or have spent 45 hours working with children or youth in the age that you want to work with. That's actually currently suspended right now because of COVID, and that will be suspended. That suspension continues for students who are entering this coming summer. So we'd like the 45 hours, and we probably already have it, but it's not a requirement for this entry.
Okay, great. And then what are the ages that we would be allowed to teach was one of the questions I had.
The dance credential is valid pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. So it's elementary, middle, and high school.
Oh, great. And then I think, Lynn, did I answer your question about the college setting, or did you want to also run that by Eric and the others? Is Lynn? Lynn, are you there?
I'd be curious. Yes, I'd like to just hear what they might have to say too.
Yeah. You want to? Do you want to just say that question then, Lynn?
Sure. I was curious if we wanted to teach in a college setting, what would be required for that?
If you want to teach college, the credential program is probably not the way to go. You should probably work on an MFA in dance or a DFA. If you want to teach either community college or four-year college, that's the way to go, is terminal degrees in dance or theater. Basically, everything I'm saying about dance is also applicable to theater. I got a message from Nina stating there's theater folk here as well.
So that was my last question. So I'm done with my questions.
Great. Laura, do you want to go next with any questions? I think you're muted. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. Sarah is a liberal studies teacher prep, and does this align with the teaching credential and or suffice for entry into the program?
I'm sorry, Laura, could you ask that again?
Sure. Sarah is a liberal studies teacher prep in this program. She's in the liberal studies teacher prep. Does this align at all with the teaching credential program and or suffice for entry into the program?
So the liberal studies credential and the liberal studies major is really for people who want to get a multiple subject or an elementary credential. And there's obviously lots of elementary jobs. If you decide to get the elementary credential first, it's relatively simple to add on a dance credential as well. The state doesn't believe that you have to go through a whole new program. All you would have to do is take the dance CSETs and take one methods class in dance, and then you could add on a dance credential to a multiple subject credential.
And can we continue with that line of question as it might relate to someone who already has a PE credential?
Excuse me, cut out on whatever. Any credential add-on, if you already have a multiple subject or any single subject credential, it only requires that you take the CSETs and that you take a one semester methods class. So it's relatively easy.
Great. Right. And if someone already has authorization, can you clarify that terminology and what that means for that particular student exactly?
Can I have a little bit more detail about what credential they have and what authorization?
I think that's the PE credential. And Rebecca, if I'm not correct, you should chime in.
So
I teach dance. In order to teach dance, I had to get the PE credential. So do I still have
if
to take a technology course?
so you took the PE credential prior to when this dance credential is live. That means that the dance authorization embedded in the PE credential remains, and you can still teach dance. If you wanted to also have a dance credential separate from the PE credential, you still need to take then the dance CSET and take a dance content methods class. But they can't take away the dance portion of the PE credential that you already possess.
And I think that's it because, Rachel, I do believe that it's the similar answer for your question around having a single subject in English and looking to add the credential for theater. Isn't that correct, Eric?
That's correct. I would say one thing about English and PE credentials. If you were hired by a school district and you have an English credential, the district has the right to assign you English classes rather than theater classes, or PE classes rather than dance classes. So there are some people who've spoken to me about, I want to get the theater credential, and then I want to void my English credential so that I can no longer be made to teach English or PE in this case. So that's a possibility too. You can do the new credential and then void the old one.
Thank you, Eric.
Nina, I saw you had your hand up, and also, do you want to go next with your questions?
I was just hoping to clarify what happens if you were teaching dance with a PE credential. So that was why I was waving my hand. So that one has been addressed. Let's see. Looking at my list of questions. Oh, we had a question about what kinds of theater pedagogy classes, I think that might be methods classes, are offered for the theater credential that are not currently available in the undergraduate program. And are these courses, these theater pedagogy or theater teaching methods courses, ever open for students to take who are not in the credential program?
So the theater pedagogy classes, the content classes in credentials, are only open to credential candidates because they're a post-baccalaureate program. So we're not open to undergrads. And it is a different slant on what you're learning from undergrad. The philosophy behind how we give credentials in the state of California is that by taking the CSETs, you know everything that you need to know about dance or about theater from your undergraduate education. And what we're going to teach you in the credential program is how to teach the content knowledge that you know. So that's why there are a different set of classes, is that you're not going to get the same slant on what it is. Eric and Nina and all of the good theater folk in the department are going to teach you everything you need to know about teaching about dance and theater, and we're going to teach you how to teach it to other people.
The other question I wanted to bring up, there are two more questions. One is, could you describe the potential hybrid format? I know there's a lot of uncertainty because of COVID, but at one point, Eric Engdahl, we talked about online classes with maybe one weekend of each term or 2 weekends. Can you talk about what the possible formats are for the coursework, and also for the fee structure, would the fees for summer be the highest bill because there are the most units?
Hold on just a second,
Of
okay?
course.
I need to mute for just a minute.
Sure, sure. So while Eric is getting ready to jump back on, it's possible that others have thought of questions. I know that Lynn dropped one in the chat. If anybody else thinks of a question that didn't occur to you when you were in your group, please feel free to drop it in the chat now so that we can make sure
There
to.
was just a bit of clarification that might be a great question for you. A student asked, if they are planning, I don't know if it was a student, it was one of the people in my room, if they were thinking of applying to CSU EB, what courses would that person have to take, and how does it align with the programs? So I see if I can read it directly. What specific courses would I have to take, and would it just have to apply to the school program? Would I apply to CSU EB and register for this credential program? I mean, and I'm sorry, and register for courses within the CSUB program outside of the credential program? Or are they aligned? So if someone was looking to do like a major or minor in dance here, is there a focus that is on pedagogy, or that's already a part of the CSUEB program, or would they be taking dance courses separate from this credential program? How do they align?
If the student was an undergraduate student, or if the student was a credential student.
Rebecca, you want to chime in and then maybe ask your other question too quickly?
Sure. So for secondary programs who are trying to align their students to kind of take this pathway, and perhaps maybe they want to dance and from, however they do
Sorry, I think Eric's
Oh, there, he muted himself. Rebecca, go ahead.
would it be the best pathway for them to apply for the dance, like programs, to then into getting that year of pedagogy and everything else? I mean, is there a pathway for those undergrad students to go into the credential program?
Well, I can address some of that, and then I'm going to hand it to Eric. I think if I'm understanding Rebecca's question, as an undergraduate student, we do have a small track, meaning that there are a couple of courses that you can elect that are more focused on pedagogy and a pathway to teaching than, say, being a choreographer or performer. One of them is actually the course that Kimmy Guthrie teaches, and that many of the students in that class, Dance for Children, are here tonight. We also have a dramatic activities for children course. And then we have a couple of other courses that focus on how to coach, teach, and break down movement for people from different perspectives. And then we also have numerous opportunities in our undergraduate program for dance majors and minors to be in assistant roles, sometimes official, sometimes unofficial. It's not like a TA job per se, but to get to work with a faculty member and to get actual teaching experience, including service learning opportunities in the community. None of these are required per se for going into the credential program, but I do know that Eric Engdahl has said that anyone who's ever taken Dance for Children or dramatic activities for children with Kimiko has come in and has excelled in our credential program. That, in other words, those courses really prepare students to be excellent teachers in any discipline. So that's good news. I think the other part of the question maybe is to ask Eric Engdahl, what's the kind of preparation that would make an applicant to the dance credential program or the theater credential program a particularly strong candidate? What kind of preparation are you looking for?
So what is important is, I think, a strong basis in being an artist. Can you hear me? Okay. having had a strong undergraduate experience in that the rounded undergraduate experience of learning practical skills in dance and theater, as well as history and the background. Understanding pedagogy before you come into a credential program is actually not required. You don't need to know anything about teaching to come into the program. In fact, it is against the law in the state of California for us to make pedagogy a requirement to get into a credential program. So if you have been a professional dancer, if you have been teaching in schools, if you've been a teaching artist, you probably have the understanding of what really goes on in a classroom, and that's going to serve you very well. If you've been a professional actor, if you've been working in the theater, the same thing. You have an understanding of how to work with what you have an understanding of what theater is. And as long as you have that understanding of the art form, it's the teacher credential program's job to teach you the rest.
Okay, so I do want to follow up because we have questions from a couple of folks, and this is not surprising because California has not had a dance or a theater credential. So we have several really experienced teachers who've worked with children for over 2 decades, or who are doing a master's in dance education. And the questions are, can any of that professional experience or undergraduate or MFA or professional development coursework ever be counted towards the methodologies class? Or do all credential students, regardless of their experience level, need to take all of the coursework involved as well as the CSET?
According to what state law currently says, you have to take all of the credential courses. There is no way within the current existing statutes to do that. There's a bill that's sitting and that will be introduced into the state legislature in the next session, which may make some changes into that, but counting on bills to be passed in any timetable is always an iffy proposition. So, I in the credential program, an MA or an MFA in theater or dance education, or a PhD in physics, none of that waives any of the coursework that I'm required to teach by the state.
And then finally, I just wanted to say 2 things because we're getting close to the end of our time. If there's anyone who has additional questions that we didn't get to, I'm going to invite you to stay with me so that I can talk with you and capture the nuances of those questions. And then I do want to just explain how we're going to do follow-up in a moment. But the last question I had on my list, and I think that's the last set of questions, is that right, Eric Cooper?
No, we actually have our alumni
Oh, I'm
led
so
group.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Then I'm gonna pass it to make sure that things we haven't touched upon at all get covered.
Colleen and Marge, do you want to share any questions that haven't been addressed yet?
Yeah, sure. This one was somewhat answered in our group, but might need to just be verified in case anybody else also wondered. We just had 2 questions. The first one is, do you have to be a dance or theater major?
No.
And then can you waive the CSET with undergrad courses?
Eric, we're not, something happened to your sound.
In review, you can be accepted into the program.
Eric, could you please repeat that? Your sound blocked out until the last 3 words you just said. Eric Engdahl, can you hear us?
He may be going out of range.
Yeah.
Marge, can you say the question one more time? Because I think we might be able to answer this one.
Sure. They asked, can you waive the CSET with undergrad courses?
I
Right
don't,
now, you don't have to take the CSET because of a COVID waiver to get into the credential program.
Would they have
So
to take it after?
You have to take it in order to receive your credential. So you could get through the whole program, but you won't be awarded a credential until you pass the CSET.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a separate question. In terms of someone who already has a credential to do the add-on credential, we said that they would just have to take the CSETs and a method class that was mentioned for dance. Would the same apply for theater? It would be the theater CSETs and then one method class for theater?
Yes, yeah. Everything that I've said about dance is also true for theater.
Perfect, thank you.
And then
Thanks
I
for
have
clarifying.
one additional question. Is financial aid available to cover the cost of the credential program?
There are some financial aid packages available. There's nothing specific for the credential program and unfortunately, nothing for the arts. If you want to become a STEM major, you could get money,
But like the basic, just kind of traditional financial aid, like getting student loans and things would be able to be used to cover the cost?
yes, that's all available.
So Eric Cooper's, we're at our finishing time. Do you want to say something?
well, Lynn asked a good question that I thought maybe we could answer really quickly. Is there, in the credential program, are there courses for cultural diversity training?
Yes, that's embedded in all of the coursework. It's not a separate course.
Great.
And one other thing somebody asked is, all right, our program is cohorted, which means you're going to go through the classes in the order that we tell you to do it. It's a full-time program. It is also a program such that you pay the same fees summer, spring, and fall. It's the same fee structure. You don't pay by the unit for a post-baccalaureate program. You sort of pay by half or whole, and this is a full-time program.
Great. Well, we're at 8 o'clock, and Nina volunteered to stay after. I can stay after if there are more questions, but we want to make sure that you have our information. So I'm going to very quickly show the one more slide that Nina made for us. Let me get it up. That will have some contact info on it, and then give me a second because I'm not very good at.
So while you're doing that, Eric, please, anyone, feel free to email me, and I'm happy to set up a time to Zoom or talk with you and answer your questions.
Yes, and also if you joined us tonight but didn't have an email exchange with me to get the Zoom link, I may not have you on the contact list. So feel free to drop your name and preferred email into the chat, even if you're just not sure, so that I can add you to the list and we will be sure to update you.
Oops, sorry, everyone. And you can also always go to the Theater and Dance Department website to get our contact info, or the Teacher Education Department to get our contact info. Thank you all for being with us. Yes. And especially a special hello to all our alumni who are here. It's so nice to see you. And feel free to hang out for a few minutes if you want to.
So thank you all. I'm going to leave here. Thank you for putting up with me in the car.
Thank you, Eric.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great. So anybody who wants to stay and just have a little bit more opportunity to get into the nuances of your questions because everyone's in a different situation. I want to make sure to get your questions, and I promise to follow up with you. I may need to consult with Eric Engdahl as well as some other folks, but let's see. Rebecca Myers, would you like to start? If there's anything that you want to run by me, I'll take some notes.
Sure. I was wondering a couple of things. So for those, those grandfathered teachers who wish to still get their dance credential, the methodologies course, would it be as simple as just applying to East Bay and then registering for that course? Or would it have, and of course when it's offered, or would you have to actually, how does that work as far as being separate from the credential program?
So my understanding, and I'm going to double check, would be, let's say you have for sake of the argument, you have a physical education credential with a dance authorization. You would, if you wanted to get the dance credential, you would apply to Cal State University East Bay. You would also apply to the dance credential program. And then I believe you can decide, you can choose any one of the 3 methods courses in dance. And I believe there's one offered in each term. One is offered in summer, one is offered in fall, and one is offered in spring. The differences between them, I'd need to find out, like what's the sequence there. But I believe that as a teacher, a credentialed teacher returning to sort of switch the subject matter designation, you could pick any one of those 3. But I do believe you would need to apply to the credential program. And if it was going to be this cohort, you would not need to take the CSET to enter the program. Let's say someone in this situation waited 3 years, they might have to take the CSET to enter the program, even to just take that one methods course. But right now, it would not be a requirement to enter, but it would be a requirement to complete and receive the dance credential.
Okay. Would that be, so how does that $11,000 figure into that? Would it still,
you would not have to pay for $11,000. I believe you would. I don't know how it breaks down. I need to ask Eric Engdahl about that.
Okay.
I think it's just, so you would pay, I think you would just pay for the one class because it's offered through extension. And so you can sort of pick and choose a class. You don't have to like sign up to be a full-time student or anything like that.
Okay.
So it would probably be, I don't know. Well, we should ask Eric. Yeah.
Do you know like how long it's going to be waived, the CSET, and when? Because I know like scheduling CSETs, it's like months in advance. And so is there any sort of to be determined date as far as like, this is the day that you'll get to start signing up?
Well, it happened that I had someone in my breakout room who was on the review panel for the dance CSET, and Bonnie Lavin, and she and Eric Engdahl would sort of have the same information. She thinks that it's hopefully going to roll out in January. So that would mean, and if I understand correctly, it's offered a couple of times each semester. So it would be possible to take it before entering this program, because this program commences in June of 2021. So it would be possible theoretically to schedule and take the CSET in dance before entering the program.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm probably taking up everybody's time. I'm sorry.
That's why you came. We'll do a wrap. Oh, Bonnie's here. Sorry, Bonnie. I'm talking about you in the third person. I wasn't looking.
No, that's okay. Yeah. The only thing I wanted to say real quick about that is they are hoping to roll it out in January. I tried to get an email answer back from him to find out more, but James hasn't returned it to me yet, but that might be that January rollout might be a test group. They might have like what they call kind of like a control group. And then once they've taken it and the feedback is in from that, then they would make it available to everyone. And I'm not exactly sure about how they determine that control group. So that's one thing I can add to that.
Thank
Okay.
you. Why don't we go around maybe just so maybe some people have just one question and can leave, and then I'll come back to you, Rebecca, if that's okay. Marjorie, what are your questions?
I actually had a lot of the same questions that Rebecca has, because I think we're in the same boat with already having a credential. And like, I just completed the ed tech program, the master's program. And so my plan is that in January that I want to be able to apply and just do the add-on credential for both dance and for theater. And I think I'm pretty much like, you know, a lot of the questions you asked, Rebecca, were really helpful to me. So don't feel bad about taking up time, because I would have asked the same things and you helped me out. Hopefully we're in the same cohort together. And then the only other thing that I had a question around was when we apply in January, are we applying as like as if like I've never went to East Bay before, or like how do I? Okay, like a brand new student, do the whole
Yeah,
thing.
don't tell anyone you went to East Bay.
I
No,
think what Eric Engel was saying is that if you were currently a Cal State East Bay student, you don't have to apply again to the university to get into the credential program.
Got it.
But you're an alum, so in fact, you would apply to Cal State University East Bay. Yeah.
Like a post-baccalaureate?
Yep.
Okay. I think that's it. I think that's it for me. I'm going to stick around anyways in case there's other people who have questions that are the same for me.
Thank you. Sarah, do you have questions that we can address?
I was wondering, so for fall and spring, that's when we start doing the academic and student teaching during the day?
Yeah, you do academic work in the summer, and then in the fall you begin your student teaching while continuing to do academic work at night.
Right. And so would we be paid for the student teaching, or it's unpaid?
I believe it's unpaid because you're earning credit. So the student teaching earns you a total of, I took some notes here. It's like being a full-time student, but you're doing service learning. 10 units are student teaching. So it would be 5 units of student teaching, I guess, in the fall and 5 in the spring. So it's a big commitment. And you would, I'm sure, like all credential students, be finding a way to juggle that with employment.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Did you have any other questions, Sarah?
I think that's all I can think of for now.
Okay. Colleen, did you want to ask anything?
Yeah, kind of following up on Marjorie's question about like the reapplying. So as an alumna, you said like we would need to reapply, but starting in the spring, like I'm taking some classes to do like the online teaching certification, which is like the classes are through continuing the continuing education for like the extension. So would I still, even though like I would be, you know, kind of in between being alum and you know, an active student, like would I still need to reapply as like a new like post-baccalaureate student?
I believe so. I will check with Eric Engel. So what's the program you're going to be taking courses in?
It's the I think it's called like online teaching and learning credentials. It's like a 4-class program.
Is it a certificate?
Yes.
Okay. So here's, I believe that's the crux of it. A certificate is like a professional training series, and a credential program is actually, you would be matriculating. So yes, you would have to apply as a graduate student. It's a form of graduate education.
Okay.
So even if you were concurrently taking classes through extension in online to get your online teaching and learning certificate, I think you would still need to apply to be a credential student, but I'm going to ask Eric Engel about that.
And so then the different application, like the departmental application, is that like there's the, you know, re-application or initial application into like to East Bay, but what is the departmental application? Is that like the application to the specific, like to the credential program?
Yes, and that is under teacher education, which is actually in C's. It's a different college than theater and dance. It's the College of Education and Allied Studies, but you would be applying to teacher education. That's what he means by the departmental application. It's the credential program. I'll come back to you. I want to try to keep circulating just in case somebody has a one off and can go. Lynn, do you have a question that we haven't gotten to yet?
Yeah, I was thinking about, this may be not attached to dance, but my question for diversity and inclusion, that just wasn't a class that I know was offered back in 2006. Do you know if there's like, if I'm interested in taking a class or a field on that, does CSU EB have something for diversity training?
So it sounds like you're interested in getting some training to specifically within the field of diversity and equity. Is that right?
Yeah, but I'm curious if there's just like one class or a
I don't know. I think you probably would want to do a couple of things, is go and take a look at, there's a leadership certificate program through the Department of, what is it? Hospitality, Recreation, and Tourism. And they may have a course. I know that there is a master's, a doctorate of education that probably has courses like that in it. When Professor Engdahl says that there isn't one course, it's embedded, I believe he's reflecting a philosophy that I personally am in support of, which is to try to make sure that it's not something that we do on special occasions, but that it's something that is infused throughout all of our curriculum. And that's why I don't think you'll find a course in the credential programs that's like just on that subject. That doesn't mean, however, that it wouldn't be a fabulous course to take. I just don't know at this point where you would find it. But I do think it would be worth just kind of exploring, but looking at the doctorate in education, look at the leadership certificate under hospitality, rec, and tourism, and then know that if you were to do the credential program, that it would be a focus and a lens through which hopefully every course you took was built. I'm not
I
sure I'm
think when
answering your
when
question.
when I was in the PE credential program, I remember taking a course, like it was like a culturally responsive teaching or something like that in the credential program. I don't know if that would be something you can take like a la carte though. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good to know, Marjorie, what that course is called. So I can specifically ask Professor Engdahl, is that course still offered through teacher education? And is it something that you need to be accepted to a credential program to take? Because a lot of us teach outside of a credential situation, and wouldn't it be great to take that?
Right. I'm pretty sure it was like culturally responsive teaching. I'm pretty sure.
Great, thank you, Marjorie. Let's loop back to Rebecca Myers. Thanks for your patience.
No problem. And I want to say that this was actually covered, but I just forgot. Are the methodology courses and all these, when you start in summer, are they going to all be online for right now for this first? Okay.
I believe so.
Okay. That's because I don't live in the Bay Area. That would be a drive. And of course, I work during the day. But okay, that's good.
What I don't know, and I'm glad you're making that distinction, because online now means a lot of things. I think you're also asking, are they synchronous or asynchronous? Because if you're working full time, right, does that mean that you can do? So I'm going to ask about summer courses being summer methods courses, or all of them, summer courses, sync or async.
And like the dates of those courses as well. I don't know. I'm sure I am in a hybrid master's program as well, and I go away for 2 weeks, and so that would really be a bummer if they were in the same time frame.
Well, I do know that they take place during summer session, or summers, I guess it's semester, trimester. So it starts in early June. I think June 2nd is when summer session begins. Eric is nodding yes. And I believe it goes into early August, because there has to be a break in between that and the beginning of fall semester. If you look at, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but I will clarify the exact dates for summer term. And I'm going to put together an FAQ sheet and send it out to everybody.
Great.
So that'll include exact dates for summer session and others while we're at it. Colleen, did you have other questions?
Well, I do, based on like the conversation you and Rebecca were having. So it sounds like, I know that you were asking or making a note to check on whether the online classes were going to be at like set times. Is that something that would be the case in the fall and spring? So I know that they're evening, so it makes me feel like they are at a set time. Since we would be teaching in the day. Do you know if that is the case?
I don't know, but I will ask.
When I was in the PE credential program, they did factor in the fact that we would be teaching during the day and coming from various places in the Bay Area. So our classes typically started around like 4 or 4:30, and depending on your teacher, say if your class did start at 3:30, sometimes the teachers gave a little bit of a buffer and were able to like work with you if you had to come late.
Thank you, Marjorie. That's helpful to know.
Okay.
Great. Lynn, did you have other questions about the credential program?
It's close. I'm wondering about teaching for senior citizens. Is there any avenues? I mean, I already do it, but any enrichment for that?
Okay, I'm going to put that, if you don't mind, I'm going to put that on hold just so that we finish with credential related questions, then
Sure.
we can loop back to that. Marjorie, what else can I address that would be helpful to you?
Mine wasn't in a credential. It's just that, to further my education. Does East Bay offer an MFA in dance now, or?
Fortunately not. We do not.
No dance, no theater MFAs yet?
We don't have any graduate degrees specifically in theater or dance.
Okay, and you will text me when you do, right? Like,
yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. My lifeline always, Nina. You too, Eric. You're my angel too.
Rebecca, is there anything that we haven't covered that could be helpful to you tonight?
I guess I was just I am wondering, is your program, is this just the only pilot program in California, or are there other universities that are doing this as well?
That's a great question, and I should know the answer. I should be doing my market research, but I don't know. Eric, have you heard anything in your exchanges with other CSU dance programs?
I haven't heard of anybody, but I'll just say we're the best place to do it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Rebecca Myers, do you live in the South Bay or Southern California?
No, I live in, I'm about an hour and a half, maybe southeast of you guys. I'm near Modesto.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Modesto Junior College is my area.
Oh, you're Rebecca. My God, now I'm recognizing you. Oh my gosh. Isn't that funny? Like now that you say that, I'm like, of course, I've seen you dance. You're amazing.
Thank
Sorry.
you. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's been a while, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's me.
Yay.
Yeah, so I know I love dance in the secondary schools, and I'm really just passionate about connecting pathways, and I really want to I want to get an adjunct position at MJC, so I'm just trying to jump through all these loops to make all this stuff happen. So yeah.
That's awesome. Really glad. And I'd love to stay in touch with you about, what you're doing to make that happen. It sounds like your master's, you're doing a master's in education, dance education. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Where are you doing that program?
It's through University of Northern Colorado, Greeley.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I want to say, because they worked with Wayne State University with Doug, is it Risner?
I don't know.
But yeah, so it's a hybrid program. Wonderful Lori Burney is the one who introduced me to it, and then I got more information through NDEO. And so yeah, it's great because it's only a 2-year program, and it's only 2 weeks per summer to go. And I thought that's perfect because the only other alternative for me was Long Beach, and that was going to be hard. But yeah.